Hello, my friends. This is Jenny Stallman with Seasons Change, retired teacher here now for 2 years, and we are geared here towards the Generation Xers and the baby boomers, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. We cover many relevant topics such as grown kids and their choices, and addiction, PTSD, health, retirement, social aspects of retirement, finding our gifts in retirement, and so much more. I hope you stay until the end of my video, because if you are familiar with my channel, you know that at the end I do share a couple of my pottery items that I make and where I sell them, which is very, very little that I sell them for, mostly for shipping costs and maybe a few bucks more so I can put it into more clay. So today we are talking about depression and the Gen Xers and baby boomers. And I am not a therapist. However, I do have a bachelor's degree. My undergrad was in sociology and social work. I have been in several women's groups, still am, and most of all, probably tons of reading and research and life. First, we're going to look at the causes. And we know now that the majority of the causes for depression is not biological, it's not genetic. There has been tons of research done, and we know now that the majority of depression comes from our childhood, growing up, all the trauma we've been through, and everybody goes through trauma, no matter how great of a childhood you had or not. There's always trauma with either maybe bullies at school, teachers, experiences illness. It could be parents, it could be abuse. There are so many different traumas that people do endure as they're growing up. And we do not learn, and it never has been modeled, how to deal with it, how to come to grips with it and not repress and suppress it down like we have. And that is what causes depression. We have so much conflict and hard times and adversity in our life and never ever learn to deal with it. We've had very little modeling, most of us, on how to deal with trauma and conflict growing up. And I'm not saying that things are all our parents' fault. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is trauma growing up, no matter what kind of trauma, and that we have never learned to deal with it. If parents are depressed, children have 6 times the risk of being depressed themselves. Parents do what they know and understand. We do the best that we can with what we have at the time. I know that sounds cliche, but it's very true. So most parents, grandparents, and a lot of generations all the way back have never been taught to deal with trauma. We know now that there is so much that comes from stress and trauma, not only depression and anxiety, but we know now that chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and long COVID are all the aftermath of extreme stress and not being able to deal with our stressors. Up until just a few years ago, we had conventional medicine telling us that if they couldn't find a diagnosis, that they really didn't find anything wrong with us, that maybe it was all in our head. But that is far from the truth. Our brain is attached to our body, and we create things in our body that are real physical illnesses. Depression and stress cause a lot of other physical illnesses in our body. Depression and anxiety in our bodies cause so many physical ailments. And in turn, it affects how we make decisions. And those decisions affect usually more depression and anxiety. So it is a vicious cycle. We have to understand where it comes from, the causes. So we don't just keep putting Band-Aids on the symptoms and really deal with the underlying issues. Depression can really affect our job performance, our decisions in life, our relationships with everybody, which causes in turn more isolation. I know that we see and read and hear a lot about how to treat depression, like more exercise, get out. And we know a lot of this. And yes, it helps, but they are very few variables that we can do. We hear things like get out and get more exercise and get into nature. And those things are all great and they will help. But the most underlying cause needs to be treated and taken care of. The first thing we usually go to is medication. And although medication can help as a tool initially, is really not supposed to be taken for years, and it really loses its tolerance. That's why we have to increase the dosage and then change the medications after a couple years here and there. And so it is not the answer. It is not a magic pill that will fix us. It has to be a lot of different variables to go into it. It's a very complex issue, depression. It is one individual at a time. It is very case specific. So we need people that can address case specific causes in each individual. You know, if only pills, the magic pill that everybody wants, works, we would not be having so many relapses. We wouldn't have a roller coaster of ups and downs in depression and anxiety. Although medication is a good start, it is not the only thing. Although medication is a really good start, we need a holistic approach. We need therapists that actually specialize in depression and anxiety. Specialists that are therapists that specialize in depression, that specialize in getting an individual on a holistic program that fits them. What bothers some people might not bother others in terms of depression. That's why therapists that is an expert in the issue is the best one to start working with. The last few years, there's been a lot of studies done on brain retraining, and our brain retraining programs are some of the best that we can do also for depression, because the more that we ruminate on our depression and things that our adversity in our life that we've never learned to take care of can cause more and more of our feelings to be repressed and cause deeper and deeper issues. The more that we think about something that is going wrong, the more we ruminate on something that is wrong, the worse it gets. And so we do need to learn to retrain our brains. There is an author, and he was one of the greatest in brain retraining, and his name is John Sarno. Anything on him, he was way ahead of his time. It's like this: if you pour water on a mound of sugar and you keep pouring water in that same place on the mound of sugar, it will reform itself to fit what you're thinking. And that is an analogy of our brain. And so we do need to retrain our brain on so many levels when it comes to stress, depression, etc. There are many other things that we can do, like movement and exercise, of course, releases our serotonin, and that does make us feel better. In fact, we know with the studies over the last few years that exercise does a lot more in our bodies for stress and depression than medication does. Diet is another important aspect that will help us treat depression. 90% of serotonin, the good feeling chemicals in our body, are actually located in our gut. Therefore, If we're eating a lot of sugar and other things that are not healthy, it can really affect the serotonin that ends up in our brain that makes us feel even more depressed. So yes, diet does help, a good diet. And so yes, diet does play a very important role in our health, our mental health. And always what's healthy for everybody in all situations is to connect with others and have a sense of community. There are also some really great books out there that can help tremendously. One of them is called How to Recover from Depression by Michael Yapko. That is fantastic, and he understands all of the new updated research and information on the causes and the treatment of depression. There's another book called The Body Keeps Score, and I think that you could understand where I'm coming from, just the title, The Body Keeps Score, meaning that everything that goes into our brain that we've never ever dealt with really shows in our body, and it shows in our depression, stress, and everything else that people deal with. And it is ongoing and it is progressive. There's another book also called Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. Another good book that will give you a ton of information on this topic. I hope that some of this helps. There is nothing that can't be bettered in our lives. And a 1,000-mile journey starts with, yeah, you guessed it, one step. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that at the very end, I do show you some of the pottery that I make that keeps me sane, that I love, amongst other things that I do. So this one is my blues and greens, which I love so much. And I do things that are just a little bit different. Love mugs. So love the ocean colors. And also I have big bowls with different colors. So you can check out my little Etsy shop if you'd like. And as I said, I sell them for a very low, the lowest price I can, just that handles the shipping costs and a couple more dollars so I can buy some more clay. So I thank you so much, and I hope this helps. And please subscribe and like if you did, and I will see you in the next one. Again, this is Jenny Stallman with Seasons Change. Thank you.